Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. It is a day outside like I feel. It's rainy and gray, and I'm still trying to get better with my cold I had over Thanksgiving. But I got some energy. I'm coming back. I'm excited to talk about today's topic. Today we're going to be talking about FPDS, and I like this topic because I did version 1 last week, just going back to the basics, right? And I was talking to a couple of people yesterday, and they were saying that they had gone back and watched it again. And it was so helpful to them. I'm like, okay, let me move on to the next version of it. And so I'm really excited sometimes to go back to the basics. And I think I'm going to be doing a lot of that heading into 2023 through December 2023, heading into 2026, and moving forward on that. Okay, so let's get rocking and rolling on the training. Oh, by the way, before we get started on the training, just remember to engage in the training, right? A little intro of who you are. When I tell you to thank our sponsor, please do that. If you're open to connections, let other people know that you're open to connections. Okay, let's get started on my second in a series of Federal Procurement Data System or FPDS training. And today I want to talk about search. The first training I did, you can go back and watch the replay. It was an intro of FPDS. And today I want to go down into just the steps of the skill of searching FPDS. And so I'm calling this part 2, which is pretty funny. As I went through, it's like, it's not part 2 of search, it's part 2 of an FPDS series. So maybe another tool, I'll get better at the naming. All right, so in today's training, I'm going to dive in really fast. I don't want to do a lot of preamble here because I want to get to the meat and make sure I maximize my time. But in today's training, I'm going to be talking about why searching FPDS is vital to your success, because I think it is. It's very important to your 2026 and even 2027 success. The second thing I'm going to talk about, and third thing, basically are basic FPDS search techniques or skill sets that I want you to look at and get good at. When you get good at the basics of using a tool, then you're able to master the information that's in that tool. You're able to turn data within a database into information that's actionable to your organization. So we'll start with basic FPDS search techniques, and then depending on how much time I have, I want to give you some advanced FPDS search techniques that I use myself. That's great for learning a lot more from the data than just the initial pass that you'll see. That's what we're going to cover down on today. If that's what you want to hear, say FPDS rocks in the chat. Give me some energy to push through my cold and my headache. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I am founder of Call Plan AI, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I teach tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years after I got out of the Army as a small business government contractor. And since 2018, I've been helping people like you understand that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we have repeatable, predictable results. And this is what I want for you. It's why I show up over and over again, is to remind you that if you follow a process, you can have the success that you want. And part of that process is understanding the basics of the skills that go into the process. That's what we're going to be talking about today. If you haven't done so already, make sure you connect with me on LinkedIn. Join 43 other followers who track on the information I put out. I'm going to be putting out a ton of new great stuff going into December and into 2026. I'm really excited about some new initiatives, still sticking with the whole idea of how can I provide you maximum amount of information that improves your chances for success as a federal salesperson, right? Whatever you're doing, you're basically a salesperson. And then make sure you subscribe to the newsletter, Government Contracting Success Newsletter. This is my newsletter where I put out additional valuable information, just kind of, it tends to be a little bit more step-by-step activity in there. Love to have you as a subscriber. Okay, let's get rocking and rolling with FPDS search training, beginning with just why am I saying search is so important, or searching FPDS is so important to your success? It really is, right? I wanted to pause for 1 second and go back. This is the second in a series of trainings I'm doing on FPDS. And the first one was an introduction and overview of FPDS. So FPDS stands for the Federal Procurement Data System, FPDS. This is where basically all contract awards the government does to industry are listed. Pretty much everything is in there except for generally classified type information. So think CIA or something. They're not going to be in here. Also, things that are under the simplified acquisition threshold of $10,000. $10,000 and below, it's kind of like a credit card purchase, and the contracting officers are not required to put that information into FPDS. But everything else, which I would say could be in that 90+%, is in here. So more than enough information for any of us small businesses. And the last thing about FPDS, just as a reminder on the introduction, it's a summary information of the contract award. So it doesn't have documents like a performance work statement or requirement documents, things like that. But it has a ton of great information that contracting officers and their teams put in here after an award to tell themselves basically what's been awarded and to track this data. Because we're in the federal market, it is so transparent that this information is made available to us. The reason that I say this is vital, searching FPDS is vital to your success as a government contractor, is that it's the number one tool to see who buys what you sell, which agencies, which people, which program offices. And so when you have that information, if you think about the commercial side, you could never find that out. You couldn't go to Bank of America and research your competitors, and you couldn't really go to Bank of America, just using that as an example of a commercial customer. You couldn't go in there and find some transparent repository of the offices that are doing the buying, the person who's doing the buying, their email. That kind of stuff is not available. But in the federal market, it is. And FPDS is that tool that tells you who's buying what you sell. It also tells you who's selling what you sell. So you can find your competitors, or you can find complementary industry partners. I call these complementary industry partners. If you've never heard the phrase competimates, the idea of a competitimate is that if you and I have our own small businesses as government contractors, one day we're competing on an opportunity. You're going after it as a prime. I'm going after it as a prime, or on another team, right? And other times we're like, hey, let's team up together and we can go after this opportunity and win it together. And so that's natural in competimates. And a little expansion of that is to find complementary industry partners. These are people or firms that are selling something similar to what you sell. I was talking to somebody yesterday who does UVC air disinfection, type products. And this is Annette. She might even be in here today. Give her a little shout out. But she and I were talking about, literally, this is one of the reasons I said I would do the training is we were talking about, well, what's the complementary services? If you sell this air disinfection, it's basically some device you put on the roof or the wall or something, and it keeps the whole room clean. Instead of just wiping the room down, you just keep the air clean of anything that's going to make us sick. And so when you think about complementary services, well, who's in there doing that facility maintenance, et cetera? Well, I can find that in FPDS, and that's a really valuable piece of information, because then I can find these people who are doing these major contracts and team up with them, or at least knock on the door and try to build relationships with them. The last reason I say that searching FPDS is really vital or valuable to you is because it helps you plan out your 2026 and 2027 revenue. A couple of things here. First off, if you don't know this, as your company has been around for more than a couple of years, your 2027 revenue should be won in 2026. You should not really be scrounging or, working really, really hard in sales in 2027 for 2027 revenue. That should be done in 2026. Now, I didn't get to you maybe early enough to tell you that, hey, in 2025, let's land all the contracts that'll give us the revenue in 26 that we need. And so going into FPDS, it allows you a couple of things. It allows you to look out into 27 and pull the contracts you hope you can win, pull those back into 26 sales activity. So you're tracking them and you're trying to win those contracts that are going to be leading to your 27 revenue in 2026, along with trying to get your 2026 revenue. The other thing I wanted to share about this is that there's basically two types of contracts. There's new contracts or new requirements, and there's recompetes. So a recompete is something that you would find in FPDS that they bought last year or 4 years ago that they're going to probably going to buy again this year, right? There's no guarantees, but if they bought IT services, they're going to buy IT services again, probably. If they bought bathroom cleaning, they're going to buy bathroom cleaning again. And so if there's a 5-year contract, you're tracking for when that ends. That's called a recompete. For us on the industry side, we call that a recompete. I guess the government calls that as well. The new requirements are, the thing about AI is just my easiest one. They're like, hey, we want to roll out new AI projects. Well, they didn't do that, last year or 4 years ago. So that's a new requirement, and they're fleshing out what they need. But anyways, the point is, in FPDS is where you find the recompetes, and these recompetes allow you to basically say, if I want to have $5 million in revenue in 2026, then I need to find me 25 or 50 or $100 million in opportunities and put them into my pipeline. And if you can find opportunities that are in your slam dunk category and you can put them into the pipeline, then you're off to the races. So, okay, that was a kind of a little longer than I wanted to on why, but it's really important to understand the why of a tool like FPDS and why search, because you see the massive value. FPDS alone, if I give you kind of a last thing here, FPDS alone can lock in your 26 and 27 revenue, right? That's huge. Forget about all these tools for a moment that you would pay thousands of dollars for that are telling you about opportunities. The government is saying, hey, here's all the opportunities we did before, right? Again, it's not the be all end all, but man, it's the 80-20 rule. FPDS is 80% of your activity, or it should be. Okay, so let's get rocking. I'm going to put Neil in the corner there because, I can put baby in the corner. Let's get rocking and rolling on FPDS. Before I go in, I just wanted to mention, this is FPDS. If you haven't seen the Federal Procurement Data System, this is what the first screen looks like. I'm going to share my screen and go in and use it and show you in a minute. But anyways, this page is useless except for learning about FPDS, but it's not good for your search. You really want to get to the next page, which is where we're going to go. I put this next page in here just to tell you that today's training is part 2 of a series of trainings I'll be doing on FPDS. Part 1 was where I really did this intro of what is FPDS, what are some of the main components you'll see. For example, these red arrows are pointing to the search criteria, or excuse me, the filtering criteria. If you're looking at millions of opportunities within FPDS, you begin to filter it out. You sort it by the Army, you sort it by set-asides, et cetera. Or excuse me, filter it by that. And on the right-hand side, you can do the sorting. So anyways, you can go watch that training. It's available. Maybe somebody will drop it. Actually, I dropped it, I think, into the comments. So if you want to watch it, go watch it. These things are okay to be watched out of order. It's best to watch it in order, but it's totally okay to watch it out of order. Okay, so let's move into today's training, which is FPDS basic search. And I tried to break up search into two areas, right? And we'll see how I did. You'll give me feedback at the end, whether it was worth the money, right? But the basic search, what I wanted to share here was really just very, very basic. So what you're looking at the moment inside of FPDS, let me back up 1 second. Just to point out, what I did is just took a section right here at the top, that top part, and over here on the search criteria, I just put it on the next page. And so here you can see one way of searching is to just type a word in, and I'll come back to it later. But if you look at the asterisk on the bottom right here, it's showing you that when you just type a word in, FPDS then searches for water and it searches for intrusion, and it does it everywhere. That's not efficient. So that's where FPDS kind of starts. At the top, you'll also see something that's pretty standard. So you'll see a search entry window. You can type in there. I don't want you to. Even for basic search, I want you to do something more advanced. And I'll show you in the next couple of slides. But over here, the go button is runs the search just like Google. Clears the fields. Advanced search is what you see here. It displays this advanced search dialog box, and I'll show more about it in a minute. But basically, you can search within existing results. So say you got some good results. You're like, well, let me do a little more criteria filtering or something. That's searching within results. You like the results you have. You just want to tighten it up. The other one, which I kind of prefer, is new search. When I'm trying to do it from scratch, I'm like, okay, give me a whole new search beginning with this. So remember that slide I just showed you? All it showed was water intrusion without the asterisks, or excuse me, apostrophes or quotation marks. Here I put quotation marks on it, and now you can see down in the bottom right, the search criteria is now searching for water intrusion, and it's looking for water intrusion across all the fields, right? And inside of the description field. One thing to keep in mind, right? 954 or something criteria there. The slide before it was 1,047. So we dropped by 100. And that's the only one I wanted to show you is that particular search. I changed it to quotes, but that's still not the place I want you to be at. This is where I want you to be at. I want you to start learning basic search usage of FPDS. And basic search usage is to choose the fields you want to search on and then do the search on that. For example, I am looking for water intrusion. This is water leaking through concrete, right? I say it as if you and I are concrete experts or water experts. But anyways, I'm looking for water intrusion. That's my business. That's what I want to look at. I want to see it in the description of the requirements, and I'll show you that field in a couple of minutes. But that particular field is where the government puts a little description of this contract. They're like, hey, this contract was blah, 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 water intrusion. And so now as I'm searching, it's funny. I don't know if you remember, but I started with 1,074 and then went 956. Now I'm back up to 1,036 because I'm searching within a field. These are different ways. And you can see down here now it says description of requirement, water intrusion. This is an important part of your searching is actually Camilla, who was searching on water intrusion. She reached out and said, hey, I tried to do it. I couldn't find it. And it was because she was searching like this. And so it was just searching everything out there. But when you search a particular field, then you're able to start zeroing down on what you do. Okay, so that's the basics of searching, and I'll show you more of that in a second. I wanted to show you how this looks. There's basic knowledge around searching. One is the criteria. So this window is that window you see on the right-hand side of the search screen. And that's called search criteria. And it's just communicating to you, this is what you've searched on so far. And right here, you can see the way they're describing it. Estimated completion, description of requirements. Here, I changed it to staffing because I wanted more. But look down here. This, and I'll show you this in a minute, but this is query language. When you're new, that can seem overwhelming. But as you start moving forward, you're like, oh, it's not so hard. I just needed to know how to do it. And that's what I'm going to show you is how to do this. But here, this language, when I go into FPDS, you'll see it as this big, long string. I separated it out so you could color, see it in separate lines. But estimated completion date, I am saying if it's a 5-year contract, I'm looking for it to end in 26. I'm saying in the description of the requirements, I want to find staffing. I'm saying I would like to find opportunities where the recipient, the government contracting company that won it is a small business, right? And other times I might switch it and say, I want to see other than small but woman-owned, because I'm looking for any contracts that were won by a woman-owned large business, so I can go in and say, hey, why don't you just push it to a small business woman-owned? You already proved that women can clearly do it. Why don't you just push it to small, right? And so these are search criteria. Anyways, this is the part I want you to start getting used to. These fields, when you're new to it, seem a little overwhelming, but start getting good at like 1 or 2 or 3 fields. Description of requirements being the very first field you should get good at, right? And I'll show you how to get good at that in a second. Okay, and the last thing is you don't have to look at all this. You can look at it later. But basically, these are all the fields I can search on. So when I'm trying to do advanced search, I'm not going to use them all, but I might look at like period of performance or place of performance. I might say, hey, I'm looking for place of performance in Washington, D.C. or Oklahoma or whatever. Maybe I'm looking for business that's right here. There's ways to start putting it down. Over here on the right-hand side, it's type of set aside, right? So I can start finding a lot of different fields. I want you to go through it. I'll show you how I found these. But basically, it's just the drop down. And the way I get good at this is I just start scrolling and I look at the data and I start learning it. That's what you have to do, right? I have to give you the basics of this. Then you have to get in and practice it later today. Okay, that was basic. Let me go to advanced. One slide on advanced, then I'm going to go in and show you FPDS live. What I'm suggesting is that basic FPDS search skills are around the ability to search it, right? To use those fields to build a query and not be overwhelmed by the query, to at some point go, oh, here's the query, right? And it just makes sense. There's things like that that I never knew about the kill chain until I was in the Army and I said the kill chain, right? There's terminology within our federal market that we just learned. And when you learn about query, you'll start saying it and you'll be able to teach others. Advanced search is how do you take this to the next level and get even more value out of FPDS? So I'm just going to tell you really quick and go in. You can, and I put here follow. What I mean was when you find an opportunity that you like, you can take the competitor out and go see everything else they won. You can take the contract office out and see everything else they're awarding. If they did one water intrusion, maybe they're doing more water intrusion. I just didn't find it. You can use the NAICS code or PSCs to, especially for me, I don't know water intrusion. So when I was preparing for the training, I'm like, oh, that's the PSC for it. Let me go look on that further because maybe the description doesn't say water intrusion, but the PSC will lead me to some more opportunities. You can follow the contract officer. This favorite one of mine is I can go up to the, well, I'll show you, but I can go up and grab their email address and put it into the FPDS search. It'll search and bring me back all the contracts that this contracting officer has touched. That's huge. It gives me an insight into that contracting officer before I meet them. But also, if they're doing water intrusion, maybe they're doing more water intrusion. And then the last one is set-asides, right? You can follow set-asides. If I look at an opportunity, I can say, just show me all the 8A contracts expiring in 2026. If I'm an 8A company, I might want to go after those, right? I certainly would want to put them all here and then go find out which ones have an 8A company that has expired or, graduated, excuse me. So that's really important there. All right, let me go over to FPDS and just show you pretty quickly. So again, this thing's, I'm just putting SharePoint for a second. That page is just generic, right? You really have to get to this page to start doing stuff. So let's go into advanced search. Right here, I'm at the top of FPDS. If I click on this button, advanced search, I'm going to say new search. I'm just showing the basics here, right? I'm going to add a field I want to search on. So one of the fields I said was estimated completion date. When is this 5-year contract, for example, going to end? So if I scroll down a little bit, I can see right here is estimated completion date. I'm going to choose that. And because I've done this before, I'm going to say, show me all of calendar year 2026. And what that means is if that 5-year contract ends next year, I want to know about it because they're probably in recompetition right now. I want to reach out to the KO. Hey, is there an RFI? Things like that. I want to add another field. I could hit search and just go from there, but let me add another field because you could do several. Let's say this one, I'm looking for those 8A set-asides. I'm going to scroll all the way down here to the bottom, and there's a field called type of set-asides, right? I don't have these memorized because I memorize them. I have them memorized because I've used them. So I don't know all of them. I only know like the 5 or 10 that I use on a regular basis. You'll get to that stage as well. I'm going to put in here 8A, and let's see if that's the way they do it. In fact, I'm going to pause 1 second, hit search. And okay, so it looks like I got the results. I'm going to test it really quick by clicking view. And remember, I'm looking for the contract estimated completion date is right here, 2026. Looks like it was, you can see it, right? It was a one and done contract. And I'm going to come down here. I know I'm moving a little fast. Type of set aside right there. Type of set aside 8A competed, so not sole source. I might even try to change this to, I didn't do this ahead of time, so let's see if this works. Can I just type sole? Okay, so I typed 8A sole. And the idea is I'm trying to see, so I'm clicking back into this item. I'm trying to see if I can come down here and look at it, right? Oh, okay. So, well, in this case, type set aside SEBO. So I could have changed that to, let's see, one more time. 8A sole source. Yeah, I think I typed that wrong. So I ran out of luck on that. But let me get rid of this guy. Let me come back here. Okay, so I want to add one more in here, right? If I'm going to search within results because I like the results I have. But let's say I'm going to click in here and I want to do that description field. And this one here, I know it's called description of requirements. This is actually my favorite field, right? And so in here, I'm just going to type in staffing. right? And so I typed in staffing. I got 10 8A type of set-asides for next year. If I look at this, and so if you see the results, there's 10 there, right? But if I click on 8A set-aside and I get rid of that over on the criteria, it automatically changed this. By the way, this is my query. That thing I had on my slide, this is my query. It just gets longer and longer out there. If you ever want to share this with somebody, just copy the URL, send it to them, because the query is in the URL. Okay, so here I got rid of 8A, and there's 1,700 staffing requirements out there. So, again, I can keep going in there and searching other stuff. Let me go to a new search here. Actually, let me go here. Let me change this to water intrusion. Hopefully I did that right. Okay, so here's water intrusion. One of the things that I said you can do, I'm going to click on this really quick, is I can come in and start trying to find other contractors that are winning what I want. I want to find another agency besides the VA. Where am I? Come down here a little bit. PBS, this one. So let me just choose this one as well. So I can come in. I got to tell you, like the idea of the searching is you never really know what's going to happen, right? And so you try it, you experiment a little bit. I'm going to copy that email from that person, and I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to put it right in the search and say, well, go search and see what you can find. And it came back with 324 contracts that this person has been involved in. If I come over to the right-hand side and I sort, like you can learn about in the first training, now I can see this person is doing a lot of contracts on a regular basis, right? And so I can go in and start learning more about them. Let me come back here really quick. Here was in the VA, right? Remember I was talking about you want to search for competitors, and I'll come back really quick. Let me come down to the thing. So water intrusion repairs, this is huge, right? They have, like, I don't know, over 1,000 facilities or buildings. If there's a way to find out about it, if I look here, this is a service-disabled veteran-owned business. It's a veteran-owned business. This is not a small business. I would tell Camilla, hey, you should go find these guys and see if you might be able to team up with them, or at least see if they're, are they a water intrusion expert or are they not? I grabbed their UEI. I'm coming back here, and I'm going to search on this. And now I'm looking at 1,600 awards that this company has. And if I look at action obligations, they're winning some pretty decent sized contracts, 30 million, 18 million. These are huge. And if I go in and try to knock on the door, I can begin to find out. Let me just look down here. This is PPE masks. Oh, it's because I did it too far away. But the idea is, you saw what I did, right? I'm just finding winners and the information. You can do the same thing right here under contracting officer name, right? But if I grabbed this guy, that's the contract office ID. You could do the same thing. You could either type it like that, where it comes back, right? Or I could go in here and say, let me do a new search. If I come down here, right here, contracting office ID, and I type this in, there's 32,000 there. If I search it, now there's 31,000. So now I can look at what that contracting office is awarding or buying. Anyways, this is a quick touch on the advanced search technique of following some of those people and showing you some of the basics. You want to practice this skill set yourself and get very good at it. I can build out an entire pipeline, sales pipeline for somebody in a day, just if they know what they sell, just looking at FPDS and just looking at the next 2 years. Here's what I want you to remember about today's training. First off, FPDS is a foundation level tool like SAM or something, right? You need to be an expert at it. There is no ifs, ands, or buts on this. Be an expert on these foundational tools like FPDS. FPDS is awesome because it will tell you who buys and sells what you buy or what you sell, right? And when you know that, you're able to go out and find potential customers, or number three, you're able to go out and find really good teammates like that last company I showed you, where it's a large that might be open to teaming with a small. This is what I want you to learn for FPDS. I hope you will practice it today. Do me a favor, throw a thank you to our sponsor, Voltron, in the chat. Voltron helps you write more winning proposals with purpose-built AI. They go from solicitation to proposal, draft proposals in minutes instead of weeks. And this is really valuable as we go into 26 and we're going to be writing a lot more proposals. Just remember, government contracting, it is not a secret. It's just a process. Part of the process is ending on time. I'm out of time. I will see you in the next training.